One issue that comes up in a lot of the many different communities for tabletop role-playing games is, how do I deal with murder hobos? Now, my intention with this video is helping you define exactly what a murder hobo is, understanding why do people engage in it, and how to deal with it. What is up, guys? Welcome to Critical Insight, the show where my intention is to give you guys a way to make tabletop role-playing games more approachable. Maybe you can learn something from it. Maybe you have some questions about how to implement some things, and hey, that's what I'm here for. So if you think you're going to find value in this channel and the things that I'm going to talk about, make sure that you use this moment before you forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the notification bell icon so you can stay up to date with all the videos that I'm going to post. It really does help the channel, and I really have big plans for a lot of the content that I want to throw out and present to you guys. So go ahead, do that, but let's just get right into the video, shall we? First of all, we have to define exactly what a murder hobo is. A murder hobo, and I want to call it something different because apparently the algorithm doesn't really like certain words, and since we are going to be talking about the ending of characters' lives, I don't want YouTube to think that I'm inciting violence of any kind. And if in the future this channel eventually gets monetized, I don't want this video to get demonetized because we're talking about what we're talking about. So I'm going to call it something else. I am going to call it joy stabbing. So what exactly are joy stabbers? These kinds of players are players that tend to resort to ending certain NPCs whenever things don't seem to be going their way, or tend to just resort to violence for everything. These are also usually players who tend to just want loot. They're basically just playing a game of kill the monster, get the item. Kill the monster, get the item. Or in the case of non-playable characters, basically what they're doing is trying to end the non-playable character to get the stuff or be able to sway the situation in their benefit. But before being able to deal with it, we have to understand that this kind of behavior doesn't stem from the same reasons. It doesn't stem from the same roots for every player. So let's identify why people engage in joy stabbing. The first reason could be that maybe they're new to this whole tabletop role-playing game. Maybe they haven't played these kinds of games before and they're used to playing video games in which most of the time what you have to do is fight the monster or fight the NPC. The second reason why they may be doing this is because maybe they're not interested at all in the narrative aspects of the game. They're not interested in the story that you're trying to tell. The third reason why they may be engaging in this kind of behavior could be that maybe they're just very frustrated about not being able to progress in the story. Maybe they've tried convincing people, maybe they've tried gathering information and they've gotten nowhere and they're up to here, so might as well just try to see if this works. The fourth reason may be that they constantly feel over-challenged by the combat encounters that you throw at them, and maybe they just want to have some easy victories from time to time. Or, number 5, they're just trolls and they want to destroy everything that you have created, be it NPC, monster, whatever. Maybe they just want to get a rise on you, maybe that's just how they find their fun. We'll talk about that. And like I mentioned before, we have to understand why the players do this in order to be able to deal with it accordingly. You see, a lot of people are just going to say, oh, consequences, which is true, consequences, but we'll get to that later. But also, what if they're just not having fun with this particular style of story that you're presenting to them? Giving them consequences is just going to exacerbate their frustration. So these are the different ways that I suggest that you deal with murder hobos according to what you have identified is the reason why they're doing it. Yeah, I said the word, didn't I? I should like bleep it out or something. Anyway, if they are new players, as a GM, you should teach them Let them know that a tabletop role-playing game is a game that focuses really on the narrative more than on the mechanics. That it's a game that focuses really on a story and a plot that's trying to progress through. It's not like a video game that most of the situations in video games, or at least in most of the video games that are out there, it's as easy as fight, 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 hack and slash your way to victory. Maybe they need to understand this. And if this is the case, just guide them. Just tell them, hey, remember that there are going to be some consequences for the actions that you make. And if they don't know what the consequences are, this is the perfect time for you to tell them, hey, so this is a royal guard. The royal guard is there to protect the palace and protect the king, which means there are no pushovers. Trying to attack the royal guard will not only necessarily bring you some heat from the royal guard you're attacking, but from the rest of the royal guards. And in doing this, you're going to be able to sort of guide the person's thinking into seeing what possible consequences the player character could face. Now, if they are not interested in the narrative aspects of the game, what could you possibly do? Maybe you could introduce some more combat scenarios for this player to just let go and have this release of combat. Maybe you can include some sort of fighting ring, fighting competition, or tournament of some sort, in order to allow the player to be able to search these places out and have their release that way. Maybe you can even create these sorts of moments in the narrative in which the one way that you could sort this out is by fighting, and then it'd be cool to see how the other players look at this character and go like, hey, guess what? It's your turn to shine. And that is when this character goes ham. And another way that you can do it is by maybe you can make this character be introduced into some sort of assassin's group or something. Or maybe this character is going to be hired as a bodyguard, and as a bodyguard, it's basically his job to make sure that whoever they're bodyguarding is kept safe. Most of the time, that is done by fighting. But how do you deal with player characters who are engaging in this kind of behavior because they are just getting frustrated with their lack of progress? Here is where I think a lot of experienced players or a lot of GMs are going to disagree with me, but I think it's very important. And I'll preface this by saying, GMs, remember that it's your job to make sure that the players, yes, they're challenged, but also that your players are having the most fun that they possibly can. That said, if they're feeling frustrated because they just can't seem to progress, throw them a bone. If they've been looking for clues and they found the clues but they don't know how to put them together, if they're trying to get information out of somebody and they just haven't been able to, if you give them a puzzle and they just can't figure it out and they've been stuck in there for a while, just throw them a bone. Just give them the support, guide them. Maybe lay all of the clues in front of them and say, hey, so far you found this clue, this clue, this clue. And maybe in the way that you tell them the clues again, maybe you can set up sort of an order for them to be able to understand what their steps should be mentally so that they can sort this out. Also, if they really have to convince this NPC, and that's the only way that they get to progress, they have to convince this NPC of something. Usually we tell our players to explain exactly how they approach the NPC, or to express exactly what they said to this NPC, which I honestly think that is not entirely fair, because let's be honest, not all of the players have the creativity required to create a long line of conversation in order to find a way to convince this NPC. So, how about you just figure it out with just a simple charisma check? Or how about, because they've already been challenged enough, you just say that they just happen to say the right thing and then the NPC gives. This is going to allow the story to progress further. It's going to take some of the frustration away, which is definitely going to make for a more enjoyable gaming experience. So what if the reason why they're doing this joy stabbing is because they feel like they're being over challenged constantly? Well, maybe you should introduce fights into the game that don't necessarily require them to always be on end, you know? Maybe have a group of monsters be escaped in the city for some reason. Maybe they were transporting them from one place to another, and then the cages where they were in just break open, and now they're just all around the town. And in order to get them back, they have to fight the monsters. Not to kill them, because they need the monsters, but to fight them and weaken them so much so that they're able to be placed back into their cages. This is another way that you can introduce some conflict and some combat to the narrative without having it be too challenging for the player. Or the players, if there's more of them that feel over-challenged. Now, what if your player is engaging in this kind of behavior because they are just horrible human beings and they want to destroy everything that you've taken such a long time to prepare? They don't care about the story, they don't care about the non-playable characters, they don't care about the plot, they don't care about anything other than just ticking you off. The answer is simple. Consequences. Let's say that your players want to have an audience with the king, and they're going to talk to the royal guard, and as soon as they talk to the royal guard, he immediately poses a very reluctant attitude. He does not want to allow the player characters anywhere near the king. They try to convince them, the royal guard says no, and then this Yoistower goes on, oh, I killed the guard. No. These are royal guards. They are trained in combat. They're usually the best of the best in martial artistry in that city or town or palace or whatever. Which means that attacking this person might not result in the easy I attack, you get hit, now we get to convince you kind of mechanic. Instead, you could have either the one guard beat the living daylights out of the person who was going to attack them, and now this character is in prison, or you have all the other royal guards that are around actually converge in your position and threaten the character with being arrested or with hanging on public square for trying to kill the king. And that is just one of the ways that you could deal with this. Let's say that one of the characters actually did get to end another of the NPCs. This NPC is a person within this world. So maybe one of the people, one of their loved ones hired some mercenaries to get back at this joy stabber. Or maybe because they did it in such a public place and everybody knows this, they put a bounty on their head, and now you have everybody and their mother looking for easy money. You see, all of these are ways and you can deal with this kind of situation. But let us not forget that as game masters, it is our responsibility to understand the reasons why our players are doing the things that they're doing, try to correct them or help them enjoy the game a little better, or to adapt to their needs. In the end, it's all about the fun, and if your players are not having fun, then, hey, why are you even doing this, you know? Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you guys really liked the video. Again, take this time, if you liked it, to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the notification bell icon so you can stay up to date with all the videos that I'm going to post. Also, if you like this, and you found another way to deal with joy stabbers, or you've had this situation happen a lot in your games, or you want to even tell me a way in which you dealt with it in your games, make sure you let me know in the comment section below. Let's keep the conversation flowing. I really read all of the comments. It doesn't matter how old the video is, so make sure that you do that. Make sure that you continue it. I also have the Twitter that you can follow and post some things through there. Yeah, that's it for today's video. So, as I finish every single video, from the bottom of my heart, I really hope you have a great day,
and peace!